Welcome to Reckless Speculation, where four idiots take ridiculous speculations and make them recklessly. I'm your host, Randall, joined tonight by our normal panels of idiots, Brendan Chain, I Heart Lincoln Riley, better known as Raj, and Robbie. I was at the game last night, Davis. That's where we go first, Robbie Davis. What was it like in Knoxville last night?
Oh man, it was everything you'd expect from a 9 o'clock tip-off against your bitter rival. 21,000, like 675 in attendance, and so this is at least I'd say 10th, 12th Vols Kentucky game in Knoxville, by far the fewest blue shirts allowed in the stadium. People weren't selling tickets. Usually, everywhere you go, anytime Kentucky's on the other side, there's at least a section of blue. Not last night. There was some blue shirts sprinkled in, no patches of blue at all. Atmosphere was electric. You know, it was a great time. Actually, the first sporting event I've been to as an adult where I did not have an adult beverage, not because I didn't want to, but because the lines were so long and I didn't want to miss any of the game. It was probably it was beer stand to beer stand, lines going wrapping around the arena. Great
I've had
atmosphere.
like one or two also since I turned like 19. Pretty
Yeah.
sad.
And so, but yet, and just a little praise that I wanted to, y'all know, anyone who watches the show knows I love Barnes. Barnes took over a dumpster fire going against Calipari and that recruiting juggernaut they have. Barnes is now 9-7 against Calipari. Beat them at least, split with them at least the last 6 years. Done a terrific job, and man, that game wasn't close. It took him to the chin on against them at Rupp, then to rebound and to do what they did. That team that played last night is a legit Final Four contender. We'll see. The tournament's not been friends to Rick Barnes, but that was a great game last night by UT. All phases. Freshmen came in and played. This is what you call
there. I want to ask you a question about the freshmen that came in and played. We know that Adu started the year with COVID, missed much of the fall workout. Since the South Carolina game, when he played 1 minute, his minutes have continued to go up. He's a rim protector, and I thought he played a huge part in that game last night. How nice is it to get an impact player in the middle of February from your own bench?
Yeah, and I'm not. I don't know if this team's good enough to go to the Final Four or to do better than Tennessee's ever done in the past. But this is, and we'll get to this about the Rams. So it's a little bit of a lead in. This is Barnes going for it. Adu was his family, and Rick Barnes talked about they did not want him to play this year. This was a red shirt year. Carmar gets hurt. And then he has to come in, plays great minutes last night, great minutes against South Carolina. The kid's a stud, and you're looking at what Barnes is building for this last chapter in his run, I think, is a combination of you got Ziegler, you got Adu, you've got Kamwa, you've got Plavich. You've got a good
guys that are not going to go pro, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got a good Grant Williams feel to this, sprinkled in with some talent, some 5-stars, some Chandler, Vescovy. Like I like this group. It's a very likable team, much like those Admiral and Grant Williams teams.
So, Raj, going into this game, my pick, and Kentucky played much of the game without Ty Washington, which makes a huge difference. For the last month, I've been on Kentucky is my pick to win it all. Do you think this game unseated for Kentucky from the one line, or do you still think Kentucky's a one line right now?
the last bracketologies and whatever Joe Lunesta, as I call them, they were all 2 days ago. They were a 1. Now, theoretically, they'd be a 2. I think the difference between Kentucky and Purdue is Purdue in the Big Ten, there's not a lot of great teams. Illinois just lost to Rutgers and whatnot. So the point being is if they win the Big Ten championship, it's not going to be nearly as impressive as if Kentucky wins the SEC. They'll jump ahead of them. So we'll see how it shakes out. As for UT, we saw the potential, and I know you guys are down in the dubs one week. I'm surprised at the optimism switch, but we saw the potential of that team. And one thing I liked about Adu is along with Huntley Hatfield, it makes them a lot longer. I'm not a Plavsic guy. He's a big dude, but he's slow to moving, just like Fulkerson. But, it's nice to sub in and out. Adu played, 18 minutes and had 7 boards. But, yeah, I'm an SC guy. Went to the Elite 8 last year. It's all – length on D was everything in the NCAA tournament. I watched every game of theirs, and they challenged everything, smoked Kansas. And if UT shoots like this, especially Chandler and Vescovi, who kind of feed off each other and have the ability to go unconscious, that's a deadly team. Now you look up, and they're 19-6, 10-3 in the SEC. It's so funny, like earlier when they were like 9-6, 10-6 or whatever, they're not that good, they're not as good. And now they look like world beaters. And to lose by 28 in Lexington and then come back, and that game wasn't as close as the final score. That game was over, 5 minutes into the second. The only thing that I saw was, Kentucky's a great rebounding team, and they lost on the boards. But, 8 turnovers to Kentucky's 14, steals. They were all over the place. It's not easy to hold Kentucky to 34%. Ty wasn't 100% healthy, but I don't care if they had freaking Anthony Davis. Well, maybe they had Anthony Davis, but Tennessee was winning that game, and Tennessee was the better team from start to finish last night.
Hey, shout out SC on a big win against UCLA.
That was huge. We sold out. It was like the first time in 3 years, and no Mobley, but my man Drew Peterson went unconscious for 27. A white guy too, so you guys should be proud, all 3 of you.
What would I say to you guys if I ask you to tell me how many losses at home Kentucky, Auburn, and Tennessee has? What would be your guess?
Brandon? Know it's 0 for 12. Tennessee, 0 for for Auburn. I don't recall Kentucky losing at home, so I'd say none of them have lost at home.
They are 46-0 at home combined this year.
Pretty solid.
Auburn beating teams like Kentucky, not playing jokes of a schedule either. I think, would you guys agree that Tennessee's probably had the easiest home schedule? Now they beat Arizona, impressive neutral site. But of those 3, would you say Tennessee has the easiest home schedule thus far?
Yeah, but it gets tough now. They play Arkansas twice, Auburn, and they're on the road 2 out of the next, or 3 out of the next 5. So Kentucky last night.
Kentucky's had the easiest home schedule. They haven't played anybody that I can remember the non-conference. I'm not sure Auburn has either. They played some neutral sites, but Arizona and Kentucky are in the top 5 in Ken Palm. Tennessee's beat them both, even though albeit at home, but they beat them both.
Was Arizona at Knoxville, or was it neutral site?
No, it was in Knoxville.
I don't care where it was. That was an impressive win.
Yeah.
That's a good team, and I watched a lot of them.
Yes.
Hey, they got Robert Morris, Mount St. Mary's, Ohio, Albany at home. Those are really tough teams in tennis. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say real quick.
I agree with you.
From what I've seen, I unfortunately didn't go watch the game the other night. But the Vols have come a long way, as most college basketball teams. The progression you can see with the talent and the teams, they finally gel and come in towards the end here. So I really think if they shoot like they did those numbers and not like they did against Texas Tech beginning of the year, which was like what 22% or something. I mean, this is a completely different team with a high upside. So it takes a little bit of luck in the tournament to catch fire and momentum to go that way. And Tennessee's rolling in the right direction in my.
So, well, Robbie, I'll come back with you with the question, but Calipari said something to Brandon's point in the post-game press conference. He talked about the size of Thompson-Boling and that Tennessee shot better there than other teams do. So I think that's a valid assessment. Robbie, we went into this game, I felt like Tennessee may have been the first 5 seed or the last 4 seed. We come out of this game, and I feel like they are there at the top of the 4 line. Wisconsin and Duke, I would say, are the bottom 2 of the 3 line. Villanova, Texas would probably be the top of the 3 line, both holding victories over the Vols. If you're the committee and you're placing those teams, Wisconsin, Duke, Tennessee together, who do you have on the 3? Who do you have on the 4?
Well, so I think I think Tennessee's a solid 3 as we stand today. Number 10 in Ken Palm. Their losses are against – their worst loss is Alabama on the road. They have lost to number 3 Kentucky, number 8 Villanova, number 13 Texas Tech, 14 Texas, 16 LSU, and 19 Alabama.
Give them the championship, bro, right now.
So I think those all losses, all on the road. Revenge the loss against Kentucky. Again, sitting at number 10. So now this week at Arkansas, Saturday, is probably the biggest game left on their schedule because they do need a road win. Arkansas's not crazy good, but they're ranked 22nd in Ken Palm. And so I think they need that combination with Auburn win at home. But, I mean, really, seeding in the tournament, it's more about matchups. I'd rather be the highest 4 than the lowest 3, and however that shakes up because of the matchups.
Well, before we go on to the next subject, which is name, image, and likeness, even though attorney says they doesn't do, there's no thought of this. Wherever Tennessee ends up 3 or 4, I would bet UTC ends up the 13 or the 14 across from them. It'll work out that way because the attorney, they'll want to that's a great tourney matchup, Tennessee versus UTC in the opening round.
Do you think UTC can get an at-large this year?
No.
If they don't win the Southern SoCon?
Yeah,
no. The resume is not there, but one thing they have is actually, for one, star power. They have names. De La Silva from Kansas, Malachi Smith, John Baptiste. They're not a secret. They're not going to be on Jimmy Fallon as a joke. That's a good team with, NBA bodies. But, yeah, I agree that the resume is not there. But if they played teams and had the ability, I think they'd beat a lot of people.
It would take the perfect storm to get them there. But
it sucks. Got to win the SoCon. I mean, that's tough, man.
Let's move along. And this is not necessarily a Tennessee story we're starting with, even though Robbie and I are both kicking our arms tonight. Very proud Tennessee basketball fans.
I think we're all repping our teams tonight.
I think so.
Not planned, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to change out of this old sweatshirt because I promised I'd be at it. Oh, no. Benny Dariush is out of next week's bout. Left leg injury. Ah, crap. That's my boy. I didn't have time to change because I wanted to be on time for once.
You were. James Clausen, the president CEO of Spreeberry Marketing in Knoxville this week, came out and said that Cedric Tillman and Hendon Hooker had both signed large name, image, and likeness agreements. And in his press release, he said that Hendon Hooker's deal was a 7-figure deal, which took me by surprise. I've heard rumors that Spencer Rattler has signed a 7-figure deal at South Carolina. Famously, Quinn, what was his name, that signed 1 year with Ohio State,
Quinn Ewers.
Ewers.
Yeah,
was supposed to have signed for $1 million NLI.
and he did. That's why he left high school early. Is this
So,
a surprise,
Robbie,
really?
you brought this topic up. Let's start with you. Tell us what was on your mind when we were talking about this.
Well,
It's not fact yet. Sorry to interrupt. Right, I haven't seen fact, but
Speculation.
I think these are speculation.
Speculation.
I think it's
Possibly rec
pretty
spec.
close to fact. Yeah, what the news is in Knoxville is essentially these CEOs, these power brokers, they're forming a $25 million. Their goal is to get $25 million a year and pay players. I mean, just name, image, and likeness is gone. Like that theory, the NCAA was so tone deaf and so let this get out of control that it's just now paying players. You know, we go back a few days and Jimbo Fisher, you know, essentially being like going nuts about this $30 million fund that was reported on by Sliced Bread. Well, turns out this is what's happening. And there's just going, this is like, look, I'm all for these college kids have been getting people rich off of free labor for a long time. But this is just, it's one of those mixed bags. It's gross, it's deserving, but I don't like it, but I don't hate it. The NCAA just screwed the pooch by not getting some kind of regulation in this. You're going to look at, I mean, and this is Tennessee. We have some big alums. We don't have,
Absolutely.
say USC for one, that kind of alum money, or Notre Dame or Harvard. You know,
You're missing it. Oklahoma State.
Nike.
Yeah, T. Boone. No, I agree.
T. Boone will spend more money than the rest of them combined.
Yeah, and so you're going to have, and I just saw the Big Ten, they're renegotiating their deal. They signed their last deal was with Fox and I think it was Fox and CBS. Maybe it was for $440 million per year. This new deal is going to be for $1 billion a year. Hey, college football is coming up on the NFL. Obviously not a competitor, but they're number two now, and they firmly found themselves as the number two sport in America, and TV knows it. We'll get to the Super Bowl number later, but oh my God, football is king.
So at the same time, the University of Tennessee just raised the price of 2 season tickets. That my tickets in the end zone are now equivalent to 2 Falcon tickets in the same location, about the $2,500 mark. So that's a lot of money to pay for 7 home football games.
I got that.
I don't mean this disrespectfully. By the way, T. Boone Pickens to kick down money, he'd have to do it from the grave. But
yeah,
rest in peace, 2019. But
he's still got a trust fund that.
Oh yeah, his money. I'm sure he set aside $500 million for Oklahoma State. I don't mean this disrespectfully, but like in small towns, you know, especially a place like Tennessee where there are no tax, there is no state tax. You know, there's not much to be proud of in that sense. I don't mean that disrespectfully. But Tennessee's got a ton of wealthy alums, and what more than to have your college football team win and be a national champion? I mean, I think a lot of people would pay anything they could. I mean, Rob, if you were, a billionaire, wouldn't you kick down enough with the stupid NIL, with the lack of constraints I would. SC is.
You can just ask Chain. You don't even have to be in hypothetical. You can just be like, hey, Chain, how much money are you giving?
He's an Ohio State guy. They've got enough cash.
Let's go back. Let's take one step back, Raj, because I wanted to ask you a question. Alabama famously has Paul Bryant Jr., who is probably the largest donor to that football program. Tennessee, of course, has the Haslam family. But you have a $8 billion endowment at USC, and Snoop Dogg roams the sideline. What will
Hopefully.
stop USC from getting completely out of control with this?
I believe everybody's dirty to some extent. I believe everybody has a reason to go to school where they go. With USC, one thing is with all the bad publicity with a lot of alums and whatnot, there was a sexual assault scandal, obviously going back to Reggie Bush and lack of institutional control. The previous president, Stephen Sample, Clay Helton, there were a lot of people that were like, I'm not giving any more money to this program. I know a number of people, including my sister, who canceled their seats. They usually keep it undercover, but I agree. I mean, it could get ugly. And one thing USC has, or two things they have that no one else has, is number one, the top film school in the country. But number two, Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre started their own, basically one-of-a-kind music production school at USC. Caleb Williams has already got production aspirations and has put money down on it. He's sponsored from Beats by Dre. I mean, that's pretty damn cool. It's not like a local deli, but I agree. I mean, without constraints, but I think any of the big boys can compete. I know there's so much money in Kentucky. They can throw all kinds of stuff at football. They already do at basketball. SC has natural advantages, but it's also super expensive to live out there. And, not everybody worships them the way some smaller towns would surrounding a football program. But I agree. I mean, anybody it's going to get ugly. Robbie's absolutely right. I mean, Hendon Hooker getting that much money, he's a good quarterback, but he's not worth 7 figures in anything.
Well, let's go up to Brendan.
Here,
You signed a high school junior who supposedly signed $1 million name, image, and likeness last year, who after 1 year pulls out of the school and goes back to Texas.
Right. So he obviously did that so he could get his money in that deal. I think that was premeditated in his plans. Because Rondé has a system, and the way he stacks quarterbacks, they've got a 2-year window. You sit for a year, then you get to play, or whatever. And Ewers came in and messed that up by coming a year early, and then obviously he wasn't going to start this coming year. So that's that. But this is no surprise. Like we all knew this was going to happen. Now all this is on the table. Players been getting paid for ever, and now it's legal, and now you can sign it under an NLI with no restrictions, so it's fair game. But I know you guys are talking about all the big dogs. I think this also brings in a lot of competition for the no-name teams and the other teams, because if you look at some of these stars that are going to be sitting for 3 or 4 years before they get a chance to start at some big school, and they have no chance at an NLI. Why would they not drop down a little bit and get $1 million deal and start and, play for another team? So I think you're going to have some of that. And then transfer portal on top of that is a huge, ever changing situation. So, I mean, now they're recruiting the transfer portal with the NLIs. I mean, you're going to have coaches talking to players after the game saying, hey, come here next year. I'll get you $1 million, and, things like that. So it's going to get ugly. It's no surprise by any means to me. I mean, this is just what's going to happen. But at the same time, I think it's an even playing field for the most part. You are going to have some of your bigger, wealthier schools that can produce more, but you can't pay everybody. And if you're recruiting backups, some of these backups are going to start getting a little bit antsy and wanting to play and go get their money. So I think we're going to start seeing some of that as well.
Hey, Rob, legally in a contract, how do you not have assurances? You can't force a kid to go there, but, perhaps a tiered payment. I mean, that kid got $1 million and didn't even go there. That's almost as stupid as Brian Kelly and his dancing moves. But how do you
but
not
if you
have?
look-
Can you get assurances?
It came out of Texas, though, was his NLI deal, is where he was from. Like I said, I think there were some back channel workings in that whole entire deal, and he was already recruited and committed to Ohio State verbally. I think that was an easy scapegoat. He went there. He knew he wasn't going to play. He got his money, and he knew he was transferring back to Texas. So
yeah, well, and I think Raj, this is what I see the future being is it's not a 7-figure deal to sign. It's a, hey, here's $5 million over 3 years. The 3 years you have to remain in college. Then you go there. This was just the Wild Wild West. Now they're figuring it out, and and to Brandon's point, look.
So let me ask
a
question. Go ahead, Robbie. Finish your point.
Robbie, real quick. To Brandon's point, I think there are some wild cards sitting out here as far as smaller schools or off the radar schools. Look, there's only 32 NFL teams for these billionaires to own. All it takes is a Zuckerberg, a Bezos, someone who can't get in the league to say, hey, you know what? I'll get my toy. You know what? I like living in Santa Barbara. Let me get UC Santa Barbara if they would have a football team. But let me just go and you know what? Hey, there's 53 players on a roster or 85. Here's 85 million. That's nothing. And I'll stack 5 stars out of 5 stars.
Right. Recruit some players. Right.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Rob, can you tell me about Spire Sports, if you guys have a sec, in Knoxville?
Yes.
Randall can talk about it better than I can, I think.
Please.
So I'm going to get to that, but let me make a point here. Right now, BYU has 30 preferred walk-ons on campus, all on name, images, and likeness. Tennessee, knowing that they're going to be on NCAA probation, has taken 11 preferred walk-ons. People have turned down scholarships from Michigan State, the Air Force Academy, South Carolina, other D1 schools to walk on at Tennessee because their scholarship is paid for, name, image, and likeness.
Exactly.
This is hit it the other way, guys.
This is a loophole for the scholarships.
Yeah,
I mean,
is this
you don't have
where
if you're in trouble or you only get so many scholarships or whatever. This is a complete loophole for that. You can tell a 5-star to walk on and sign $1 million NLI deal, and that's going to pay for all their stuff. Like it's a complete chaos right now. There's no structure to it. This is the first year. Everyone's getting through it, but there's a lot of smart people out there with a lot of money, and these first few years while everyone's shuffling through everything, there's going to be a lot of big loopholes and advantages taken.
Well, it's like, why would you even give a 5-star scholarship? Save it. They don't waste a scholarship on a 5-star. Hey,
absolutely.
This is Mercedes-Benz dealership down the street. Like, hey, I need $600,000 my quarterback.
It's a 30-minute conversation in a room for you to go from a 5-star to a walk-on, and you relinquish scholarship. So
I just want your gut reaction. Let's go around one time. Good for college football, bad for college football. Robbie Davis.
Bad for the sport, great for the players.
Raj Mehta, you can't tell me right now Snoop Dogg ain't got at least 4 players on his payroll right now. Go ahead.
Hey, you know what they said about Reggie Bush and other players, Matt Leinart, why didn't they do as well in the NFL? Because they took a pay cut. That's a joke. But SC's always had Farrell and whatnot. Who knows? I think you're absolutely right. I mean, if Dre's involved, Snoop, God knows what he's doing. But yeah, I mean, it helped to put USC back on the map, but I mean, there has to be constraints on this. The NCAA is the dumbest organization on earth. It's going to be difficult for kids upcoming because all these guys are getting paid like crazy. But I don't know what the constraints should be, but this has got to be, maybe a salary cap situation where you're capped out at what you can offer. But yeah, exactly. It's getting gross, but I'm a hypocrite. Admittedly.
The thing about it, Chain, before I get to you, is a good point. A salary cap is one thing, But do you know cars, apartments, living
Mhm.
arrangements?
Mm-hmm.
They are all included in this.
They're all on the table.
All on the table right now.
Yeah. So
you could
Gold
have a
Trans Am.
5,000 square foot
those are
house paid by
signing
leases.
bonuses, if you will. So like I said, we're in the baby stages of this. We're just shuffling through it like everyone. And like Raj's point, NCAA is the dumbest organization on planet Earth. So it's going to take them, their learning curve is a little bigger. It's going to take them a few more years to get this figured out. But right now it's a free for all, and it's pretty much you're going to have to do a salary cap. But I think it's great for the game. I think the notoriety for college, like Robbie mentioned earlier, automatically is already probably number 2 to NFL. This is a big factor with it. And I think you're going to see almost some type of salary cap come in later, something like that, to try and keep things at bay. But I'm happy for the kids that they're finally getting paid. I'm happy that, paid legally. And, I think it's good. So that's my opinion.
Well, it's
I
gonna,
have 2 predictions that will happen from the NIL, and then we'll move on to the Super Bowl. I fully believe we're going to see a school come from nowhere and become a superpower. It might be some school like MTSU that's located right next to Nashville and can
Jackson
raise
State.
money.
That's what I'm saying.
UC
All these
San
small
Diego.
schools
It might be
are
San
in
Diego
play now.
State. It
We need a
might be
football
one of
team.
the North Dakota states. It might be Wyoming. But you're also going to see the blue bloods that have no competition in their state grow even more. The University of Alabama competes with no professional teams.
Well, and
There's
I know
nowhere for that money to go in Alabama.
I know we're big talks on the NLIs with football, but this is going to transcend throughout all college sports. So you're going to start seeing this, big time in, tennis or soccer, whatever they're doing, hockey and other things. Obviously spotlights on football, but it's going to make a big difference.
and don't kid yourself. This is going to be a political issue.
It already is.
If Tennessee passes a law that regulates it and Georgia and Alabama don't, vice versa.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, no. Oh, college sports is a huge deal.
It's a huge deal. There's college sports fans that sit in political positions, and they're already making laws to change things so they have the same fair game at
I don't
these
remember.
athletes as other states.
I was briefly looking at it on the way home this morning, but the governor of Alabama rescinded something. I think it was some kind of check on what Alabama was allowed to, at the state of Alabama, not the university, and she vetoed it. And was like, no, hey, if Georgia can do it, we got to be able to do it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I bought my first in a name, image, and likeness, I guess, purchased the other day. It was a Tennessee Vols baseball shirt. You're talking about sports like that all of a sudden become revenue generating sports.
Mm-hmm.
You can go right now. There's about 10 in Tennessee's baseball programs. They named baseball program recently. There's about 10 of the University of Tennessee baseball players that have character shirts, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm.
$35 online right now. So
yeah,
crazy.
Let's move on. Great subject, Robbie. I got to give you props to that one. Great subject. Move on to the Super Bowl. First of all, I'd like to say great playoffs by the NFL. Just another proof why they're the big dog. I didn't think the Super Bowl was so great. I think it was interesting. I think they did a great job with the production. But the Super Bowl in itself and the playoffs together, I'm 55 years old. This is the best playoff combined with a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I left with the impression that the NFL is in very good shape for the foreseeable future. Robbie Davis, would you like to give us your 2 cents on the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I'll agree with you on the playoffs overall. Oh my gosh, what? Like, that was some of the 2 best days of football after the 2 best days of football after the best days of football, just over and over and over again. Any
Overshadowed
fear?
a great Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It was a great Super Bowl, but it didn't live up to the playoffs.
And any fear of the post-Brady, post-Manning, post-Breeze, post-Rodgers fear that the NFL had, you can put that puppy to bed. This is a stacked league with not 32 good quarterbacks, but at least 10 to make the postseason. Because fantasy gets you through the regular season. You can care about the Jags and the Colts game because we've all got money interest riding on it. You get to the playoffs and where everybody's watching these same games, it's fantastic. Super Bowl in general, yeah, I agree. It wasn't necessarily a dud because it was close and it was intense. It wasn't necessarily what we thought it was going to be, but the Rams' defensive line just overmatched them, and I'm interested to see if the Rams' go-for-it mentality is copied or if it is more just build. We may get into this. I think we are getting into Joe Burrow's future in a second, so I'll wait on that. But the Rams were deserved.
Let me ask you a question, though. Is the Rams go for it? Is that unique? Is that not the same thing the Falcons did a few years ago? And now their franchises and the Rams are fixing to pay the same cost that the Falcons did. They've been several teams.
Well, it's a
spend
little
bunch of
different
money.
because they got
Yeah,
it.
we're pushing that one.
Yeah, I love your gluttony for punishment that you bring up the Falcons and their
That's
go
rec
for it
spec.
year. Yeah,
Times a million.
yeah, so a little different. The Rams got it.
Randall
The
is not
Falcons
used.
set an offensive record for the highest output in NFL history.
Congratulations.
Even though they choked, that was a great
against
team.
a horrible division
Yeah.
opponents, right?
And beat Green Bay,
We don't need to
beat
go
St.
down
Louis.
that road. That's
But no.
you'd rein us morons in right
it's
now. I'm
not
gonna rein in
unique, though.
Randall.
That's what I'm getting at. The Giants did it a few years ago.
Well,
The Falcons did it.
Randall, to your point, yeah, so the Falcons did it. The Rams have done it. Both got to the Super Bowl. One won, one didn't. You remember which one won and which one didn't. I won't get
The
into those
Bucks,
details.
did they not do it?
But, yeah, so the Falcons.
And the Bucks won one too.
We'll see what happens with the Rams moving forward. Although Atlanta is no shaft as a free agency city and players like to go there, it's still not LA. So we'll see how the free agency plays and what they can keep the cap under. But a team like, Buffalo necessarily can't just go for it. They've got to build through a draft. And so I guess geography plays a little bit of a piece into it.
But there's a salary cap in the NFL. You're still restrained, Raj. The Rams are going to have to pay some people, and they're going to walk. You can't keep all that talent. Let's go back to the Broncos after Peyton's Super Bowl win. That team basically self-destructed after Peyton's retirement with Demetrius Thomas leaving. The last piece that was there was Von Miller. And is the same thing going to happen to the Rams?
That's a 34-year-old Matt Stafford versus one of the greatest players ever. I understand your point, though. The Rams have done this is has been in the making for 3-4 years. They locked up Kupp, Donald. They traded for Ramsey last year. The Rams have some serious star power. I don't think anyone else has duplicated that aside from the Bucks. And you look at the Bucks and the Broncos. This coming year, the Broncos are one player away. One thing the Falcons didn't have was the defense. And the Rams, the future, I think they have another 1 or 2 years. But they locked up a lot of dudes for 5, 6 years, Leonard Floyd, 4 years. But Leonard Floyd's a free agent. The chickens are going to come home to roost, Bobby Boucher, but who cares? They got their championship. Of course it's coming back. But, I agree with Rob. I think he said that, the draft is a bit overrated. I'd do whatever it takes to get a championship, and they did.
All right, Brendan. Same time, the Bucks, now Tom Brady has to retire, basically because they're going to have to break up that team. By the way, I'll bet money Tom Brady's back in the NFL somewhere this fall.
This fall?
This fall.
I'll take that bet.
The Bengals are built to win the long term, to me.
Mhm.
The Chiefs were built to win a long term. The Bills are built to win in the long term. Which is the right way? Do you build the way the Bills have, or do you build the way the Rams did?
So building, let's take it back to the Patriots, for instance. I mean, they're the gold standard here, and how they built their team and continued to progress. Obviously, they had the greatest quarterback ever, which was the last man drafted, again, an unknown. So there takes a lot of luck there to get a team that talented that early. And the Bengals have hit it. You know, they've got a lot of talent on that team, a lot of rookie deals right now. So they've got a really big window to get some key pieces in there, especially on the offensive line, which is atrocious. They need some help. It is so bad. That's what that's what killed them. They could have won that game if they had a better offensive line. I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I don't think it depends on the structure of your team and where you're at and where your salary cap. There's so many variables in it. So there's no wrong way to go about it, but it takes a lot of luck to actually build a team that way, as opposed to sell out and go for it. Selling out and go for it, you typically get, proven veterans. You got to pay a lot of money. You got to trade a lot of draft picks, and you swing for the fences and you hit a home run or you don't. That's typically how it works. But building a slow process, and especially in a world that's what have you done for me lately, doesn't tend to sit well with a lot of people. So it's harder to do it that way, and it takes a lot of luck and a lot of talent on the rookie side. But as far as the Super Bowl goes, I thought it was a great Super Bowl. It was opposite of what we thought. We thought it would be a little bit more high-power offense versus high-power offense. We knew the Rams' defense was solid. As you mentioned, Randall, the Bengals' defense was underrated. They showed out, especially, most of the first half. But the biggest key, Raheem Morris made a huge adjustment. They were only rushing 4 players for the entire first quarter and most of the second. It wasn't until late in the second they started rushing 5, and that's when they started getting to Joe Burrow. So it was a big, huge adjustment on his part. And then you look at the second half, the last 4 possessions, or 4 or 5, I can't remember. The Bengals, Burrow was sacked 4 times and threw for only 59 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge turning point. So when it comes down to it, you look at the big players that they went for on the Rams, Stafford, who played amazingly, in my opinion. I really think he did. That no-look pass that he had.
We were wrong, dude. We're eating crow on that.
We were wrong, dude. Oh, I'm totally eating crow. Like I knew he was good for 1 interception. He threw up a 50-50 ball in the end zone. That was, that was a good. But the second one wasn't his fault. That was a tip ball. So I'm not even counting
terrible.
But if you guys watch that back, that no look pass though, where he baited Eli Apple on the hook route and had Cup coming across, dude, that is just nasty. Like
Eli Apple.
That was unbelievable.
That was impressive.
Have y'all seen the comparisons of Stafford's playoffs numbers versus Rodgers now?
No, I haven't.
So Stafford's 4-3, Rodgers is 11-12. Stafford averages more yards a game, about the same QBR, and 3 of those losses were in Detroit.
Wow,
that's pretty funny.
Also, so the NFL, it's the hard cap, right? So like Kroenke can't be like, the hell with it. I'll pay the luxury tax. Like once they're at it, it's over.
You can move bonuses, which are part of your cap, to other years.
It's your dead cap money.
Yeah. So the Rams could conceivably create somewhere near $50 million in cap spaces.
Yeah,
by
you're
moving
kicking the
6
can down the
players'
road.
Bonuses.
That's
But
what we did with
That's what
Tannehill.
the Titans did. That's what the Falcons did.
Yeah.
It eventually catches up to you.
Yeah, eventually you're going to have to pay Paul.
Yeah,
So.
but you could buy right now the cap number in the Rams is $5 million.
Rich.
Which we laugh about, but listen, the Rams don't have a rookie class to sign. So that's $5 billion pure. They only have a third-round pick starting like third through seventh.
Well,
I don't see the Rams blowing up their team. They're going to have to restructure some things.
So.
There's going to be,
Stafford,
possibly
Ramsey,
Aaron
Donald, those guys restructure.
Yeah, Donald may retire. I mean, that's on the table.
Isn't it just?
I don't think he is. He's 30 years old, but
isn't it just? Hey, let's get to the next television contract. Once this next television contract comes in,
the salary cap goes way up.
Through the roof.
Yeah, exactly. It is, and maybe you kick the can down the road far enough where you can restructure, but. I don't think it's a full blow up with the Rams. I think they're gonna have to move some pieces around and sign some free agents or get a good draft pick. But I don't think Odell's coming back to the Rams. I think he's going to be somewhere else, which is unfortunate because
doctors.
He another ACL, same knee. That was just devastating to see. But I think if Odell Beckham doesn't go down, I think the Rams win by 10 points easily.
I agree. They were very lucky. Hey, real quick, Randall, you made a great point about the Bucs. I read an article that they could be in the worst shape ever. They got their ring, but 23 players are restricted or unrestricted free agents. 10 dudes started 10 games or more last year. And then you add Brady retiring. That team's in for a massive rebuild. But again, they got that ring. Yeah, I agree with OBJ, with him down and Higbee not playing. Big props and big ups to the third string tight end, what's his last name, Hopkins. He played great. But that Skoranek kid, he's a rookie. That kid just drops huge balls. He was the cause of that pick. I mean, how did Cooper Kupp continue to do what he did when I would put 10 dudes on him and just have one guy rush the passer? Overall, it's a bit ugly. It was a bit of an ugly game, but I expected that. Two fairly young teams. Now, the Rams had their 5 superstars or so. But, the 2 weeks off, the whole, Burrow and everybody doing the media week, a halftime show that I liked because I'm old, but
it was
that's an hour long.
That's great.
That's with they're creatures of habit. They're about routine. So it was ugly, and I thought Cincinnati was gonna pull away, but then credit to the Rams and their defense. You're right, when they started rushing 5 and Aaron Donald, crying out loud, the play of the game to me was when he used his paws and Samaje Perine was going full speed, only needed 1 yard, and he just stopped a 240-pound man dead in his tracks. I don't know if I've ever seen that. He's got baseball gloves for hands. But overall, congrats to the Rams. It's good for the city of LA. I didn't have a dog in the fight, but except for betting. But they went for it and they got it.
So before we move on, I just want to compare right now the way that the Chiefs and the Bills have done it versus the Rams. I really think it's stark differences, even the Bucs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Chiefs and Bills getting those 2 quarterbacks on rookie contracts, and even the Bengals, they've got Joe Burrow on a rookie. You can't pay those guys too much. For $500 million for Patrick Mahomes is a bargain at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So before we move on, though, we want to get to Joe Burrow and the Bengals real quick. They were maybe a year early, in my opinion. They made some good moves on defense. They definitely have some superior offensive talent. But watching that game, Robbie, Burrow's future I think the Bengals will be better next year than they were this year. But they've got to keep him healthy in the long run. Word came out he played second half of the Super Bowl with a sprained MCL. You keep getting his knees teared up, don't get him protected. That franchise future is not near as sunny.
He should be dead.
Yeah, I because Burrow played at LSU and I wasn't too fond of him. I've become fond of him through his pro career. They beat the Titans, so again, didn't like him towards the end.
How fond? Sorry.
I worry that this is a Marino situation. The AFC is stacked, man. They won all 3 playoff games by a field goal with the defense making a stop at the end. You're just going through. It is a gauntlet, man. And you've still got Mahomes in his prime, Josh Allen in his prime, Herbert in his prime. Tennessee's still got a year or 2 window left. You got Lamar Jackson. It's just going to be tough to get back to it. Not saying he won't, but man, you got to look at this if you're Cincinnati and Joe Burrow and be like, this was a chance. Brandon and I are Titans fans. McNair and George got there, and we were
never again
seeds for the next 4 or 5 years. Never got back. This window, more than any other sport, it closes fast, and when you get there, you got to win. I think he's a stud. Jamar Chase is a stud. They've got weapons on offense.
Higgins, very much like the Dolphins.
Mixon.
Great comparison. Duper Clayton.
They've got $55 million in the cap. You got to get draft linemen. You got to shore up that offense. And at what cost? I almost think it was like a fantasy football team. Actually, I drafted this whole football team, but
you didn't make it quite as far as they did.
I did not.
Nixon having 15 carries, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean,
the run game on both sides was shut down.
Yeah,
I mean
he had 15 for 72. They just didn't.
Well, he got a couple of
enough.
big chunks. He got a couple big chunks late in the fourth quarter. But
I just hope Burrow isn't Andrew Luck
point.
and just says, "Hey, this isn't worth my health."
Carson Palmer said, I don't know if you guys read that, but yesterday he said, and he's not thrilled with Cincinnati and the way they ended things, but he was basically said, if I were him, I'd have to consider my long-term health, and should I stay with this team?
Yeah.
Intimating that they're not doing enough to protect him, which is clear on the line.
There's a valid point that the Bengals, I think, closely follow the Indianapolis Colts. You saw the Colts have 2 quarterbacks that were once in a generation. Mm-hmm. And for Peyton's success, he left Indiana with a broken neck after 11 years, never knowing if he was going to play again.
Great point.
Andrew Luck's career was a 7-year run.
That's a great point, but I think the Bengals are in a different situation here. They've got majority of their offensive talent are under rookie contracts for another 2 or 3 years or whatever. Right. So they are a few pieces away on the offensive line side. Their defense, I think, is good enough. I mean, with that offensive power, their defense is good enough to win a Super Bowl. I mean, we've seen that against the Titans. We've seen it against the Rams. I mean, low-scoring games. Their defense sold out against high-powered offensive teams. So I don't think they need necessarily help on the defense. They may have to restructure a few guys and figure that out. But they're a few key pieces away on the offensive line to being a really, really big contending team. Now, like to Robbie's point, getting back there, that's tough, man. I mean, you saw the playoffs this year. When you get to that point, I mean, it's a flip of a coin, or it's a bad call here or there that you're winning or losing these games. So just because on paper you should be there and you're built to win, doesn't mean you're necessarily going to win. And it takes a lot of luck on that side as well. But I think they have the team a few pieces away on the offensive line to keep Burrow safe. You got to remember in the draft, they could have drafted offensive linemen, but they took Chase and Burrow and, all these high-powered names instead. So a couple free agency moves, a couple draft picks, they can shore up that line. I mean, who knows? Roger Saffold might be gone from us. I mean, Taylor Lewan's probably going to stay with us, but Saffold's up in there. I mean, he's a hell of an offense lineman. So a couple free agents and plays like that, I see the Bengals sticking around here for another 2 or 3 year window under these rookie contracts.
I feel like Joe Burrow is going to win multiple Super Bowls. So I think he is put together different than a lot of cats out there. He wins. He is just a winner, and I'm a big believer in that. Robbie, to your point about Dan Marino, it wasn't the AFC was so good back then. They stunk. And even the Dolphins stunk. The AFC lost 13 straight Super Bowls. So the AFC was really bad at that point. And unfortunately for Dan Marino, he got caught on some good teams in a bad division.
Well, there was the Niners and the Cowboys during those years that were really good.
It was all
in the
NFC. You're right.
So you can get to Super Bowl and still lose it because you had Elway, Marino. Those are 2 all-time greats that didn't win any in that time period. Elway eventually won his last couple of years, but those are 2 all-time greats.
That's the second painful Super Bowl memory for the Falcons you'd like to bring up. We just keep talking about Falcons Super Bowl losses tonight.
That's what's in my notes is how many Falcons Super Bowls.
Yes
that
or
was
no?
my preparation for tonight.
That's my only
yes
note.
Or no?
Make Randall feel crappy.
Would you take the Rams, Bengals over the Chiefs and the Bills to be back in the Super Bowl? Because to me, the 2 favorites for next year's Super Bowl is either the Chiefs or the Bills. I'd probably make.
Well, you need another NFC team. I was going to say you can't have.
If you let me finish my sentence,
we shouldn't. Just let the Bills and Chiefs play for the championship.
That's right.
I put the Niners and the Rams as the favorites in the NFC. I think the Niners are a couple of players from being there themselves.
No Packers. Rodgers coming back.
According to what happens with Aaron Rodgers, let's be realistic.
He's coming back.
What if Aaron Rodgers moves to Denver? Does that change the whole?
He's moving to Nashville. Haven't you heard?
So,
I mean, you put him on either of those teams.
So Vegas called the Bills and the Chiefs the co-favorites at 15-2. Then the Rams at 10-1. Who would be your favorite for the 2023 Super Bowl, Robbie?
Until further notice, I still am taking the Chiefs. They were up 21-3 on the Bengals. They still got the best quarterback. They've got such talent around them. Great home field. The division's tough, but yeah, I still like them. With a close second, the Bills, man, Josh Allen, they got studs too. The NFC, you know what? I've fallen off this Aaron Rodgers bandwagon. These stats of being just over 500 in the playoffs, when they mostly play home games, I no longer trust him in big games. In the NFC, I like the Rams to repeat. So yeah, if I was handicapping right now, I'd go Chiefs Rams.
So hard though. It's so hard to get back there. You need so many breaks.
Yeah,
I do think you have to pay your dues in the NFL unless you get Tom Brady on a 1-year deal or 2-year deal. I think it's the Bills' turn, and I think if they have a better regular season record next year, I know the road team's done very well in the AFC Championship games, but you go to Buffalo in January. I think it's their time, as they say in the South. In the NFC, I know we're going to talk about this, but Arizona is a team with only that's a few players away. I think Kyler Murray with the better offensive line, having Hopkins, a better running back. They got Zach Ertz. They could do some damage. They get after dudes on defense. They don't need J.J. Watt. The only reason why I'm saying this is, I don't know about Rodgers, and Green Bay is blah. And it's just so hard to come back to make it to the Super Bowl. So, and I agree with you, the 49ers, if Trey Lance is anything like Kaepernick was towards the end, that's a comparison that's out of left field and isn't necessary, but they're good. Defense, they get healthy. Raheem Mostert, Deebo Samuel's still the most effective player in the NFL. The Chiefs better sign the Honey Badger because wherever that guy goes, he wins. But I'm going Bills and Niners. I think that was a great point with Arizona. A few teams being a couple players away.
Outside the NFC West, the NFC's trash. If Aaron Rodgers leaves Green Bay, then you have Minnesota, Chicago, and Detroit. The NFC South without Brady now is complete trash with the Bucks, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints. And the NFC East, the best team over there is the Cowboys.
Yeah,
NFC's trash outside the West. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I agree with Robbie on this one. I think the Chiefs are the clear favorite there. Bills are a close second. I don't think it's their time because it's been their time the last two times and they just can't get it done. I don't see them getting over that hump. They're almost like the Cowboys to me in these big games when it matters. Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Stephon Diggs was watching the championship game from the side or the celebration from the sidelines. And then this year he's sitting on the bench, and it's unfortunate because I like a lot of those players. And I think Allen's a great quarterback. I think they've got a lot of good pieces, but I mean, they're going to need a little bit of luck because Mahomes is fantastic. And again, that was a great game though. I mean, it was a coin flip, and those rules, if the Bills got the ball, I think they would have won that game. But again, the Chiefs to me are a better team. So, and then Rams are clear favorite. I don't see any other competition. I don't see the Cardinals are in trouble right now. I mean, Murray's in disarray. He doesn't know what he's doing right now. He's, blocking accounts and doing all this crazy stuff. I mean, that's not a guy that you really want on your team, in my opinion, that can, throw a fit in silence. You don't have to get all public about it. And so to me, that's just a red flag. It's kind of like Rodgers. Rodgers does the same thing, and, you see where he's at.
Did he throw a fit, though? The guy scrubbed his Instagram, and everybody starts, the pundits, the powers that be, start saying, oh, yeah, he doesn't. He's not serious about playing.
You're right. That is the equivalent of a fit. And for
it is. When you go publicly like that and completely block the team that you play for, that writes your paychecks and do things like that, that's throwing.
Did he do that? I didn't know that. But I'm just saying, a few teams like Washington is a few players away, like one or two.
Washington,
we'll start back with you, Brandon. By the way, the Falcons and the Bills, cursed by a gypsy, never to win a Super Bowl. The only way the Bills ever win a Super Bowl is to play the Falcons. He's more cursed than the Bills are.
The stadium will blow up.
Yes. So Kyler Murray, Brandon, takes Twitter off, stops following the Cardinals. The media, the press, the alternative press, which I pride ourselves in being the off the beat
alternative press,
immediately goes, the 122 average Oklahoma baseball player was drafted 9 by the A's, or is going to baseball now. But if you're Kyler Murray, you are a mid-20s, very wealthy young man playing in a franchise that seems like it's going for a Super Bowl and is moving pieces. The Cards have been aggressive to build around Murray. What is his discontent?
I don't know. Maybe attribute that to age, possibly just getting a little butthurt about certain situations. Who knows what goes on behind the locker room and what's said and what's not said. But to me, it was a statement. Like I said, if you got a problem and you're supposed to be a face of a franchise, you don't take that public. You keep that behind closed doors and you work that out. You don't go make a big deal out of it. Now, to Raj's point, did he get on and go on Twitter rant? No. But to scrub your team, he did that intentionally because he was pissed about something. So there's some internal problem that we're not seeing right now that is steering me away from, them being cohesive and a team in a locker room that can actually win a Super Bowl. So who knows what's going to happen here? He recanted his statement, or not really statement, but actions, I guess, and apologized and said he's just a winner and he got upset and whatever. But again, when you're a face of a franchise like that, you got to be mature about your situation and understand what the implications are if you do have some type of public fit like that. So,
well, even me as losing the fantasy league every year, I don't unfollow you guys on Twitter. I stayed, and I'm a winner too. But Raj,
exactly.
Give me your gut feeling. You and I seem to be on this trend, and I think it's a bunch of noise. We don't know. Maybe Kyler Murray wants a better locker farther down or he wants more passes for his girlfriend. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's a problem with Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know. What do you think?
Who doesn't have a problem with Cliff Kingsbury?
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals management hasn't done any favors. It's not like another player is saying these things. It's almost as if they don't support him. That is a team that is maybe one or two players away, maybe a better offensive line. Who knows what they say behind closed doors. Maybe they want him to get taller and they demand he does. I don't know. But, just as it's unfair to judge Kyler Murray, we could say the same about Arizona management. We don't know what they've said or haven't said. Obviously, he feels like he's not being supported. I think it's all a bunch of noise. I agree with you. People making inference. It's a lot of reckless speculation, if you ask me. But Arizona has not come out and defended their face of the franchise, or they're not doing themselves any favors here. Most teams would back up their player and their star player. Again, we have no idea what's going on there. He's up for a contract extension,
and most teammates would back up their player too, right?
Yeah, I mean, or with this crap, I'm sure a lot of guys would stay out of it because they'd back him up. It could be, anti-management. It may be that he's up for that contract extension. He's on a 4-year, $35.4 million deal. It's not expiring yet, but he wants an extension. The team's got a 5th-year option. So that might have been it. He maybe is throwing a fit like they said no, but we don't know. It's off-season fodder. Give the guy a break. He plays hard. If Hopkins doesn't go down, James Conner's not exactly the best running back in the world, nor is Edmonds. I just, the proof is in the pudding. He's never said anything. I say leave it alone. But it's the off season. What else are we going to talk about until the draft?
Aaron Rodgers. Robbie Davis.
Yeah, I'm not in the give the guy a break category. Look, you're a professional athlete. If you have an Instagram or Facebook, whatever it is, then don't do things cryptic. Don't be Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Hey, and to me, the silence around the whole organization is deafening. No one's from Arizona stepping up and being like, oh, yeah, we definitely want him. He's looking like, oh, I'm scrubbing my Instagram, which is a term I just learned. So, yeah, you're scrubbing your Instagram. Well, dude, you just blew it. You're the quarterback. You start off hot every season, get to play, and then fade at the end. I don't know if he's watching the same news I'm watching, but playing for the Athletics and playing in baseball isn't all that likely right now. So what leverage are you playing?
It's a crappy leverage play. I agree.
If you want to sign your max deal in the NFL, well, the best thing you can do is be the best quarterback, the best teammate you can be. This seems to me like a case of people in his ears giving him bad advice. You don't just say, hey, I'm on my rookie deal, which we all know is the worst deal in sports for a quarterback. You are a franchise player playing for well under market value because that's what the terms dictated. And if you don't get to that second deal, then you have blown your career. So you play your butt off and you be the best team person you can be. Get to that contract. Then once you have leverage, then come in and make demands. But
Aaron Rodgers is a liar, for the record. Kyler Murray hasn't lied yet that we know of.
Yeah. But this just –
I get it, though.
It's just kind of cryptic and just vague behavior. And like tell us what's wrong. Tell us what you have problems with. Let the team fix it. Or just better yet, have it in-house and have these conversations. It just seems childish to me. And I just don't get it. It's a bad look. And
it's unfortunate because his talent is huge. You know, his potential is huge.
It's just hard to be on either one of these sides, whether you're on Arizona. I'm rarely on the billionaire owner side, but this is a childish behavior from the player. Like, hey, you're still a teammate, whether you like the ownership or not. You're a teammate, and be there for your team.
Yeah, well, you see how these egos can go in the NFL when if it starts out this way, like, you know, I'm not going to quite say Antonio Brown-esque because Kyler Murray is pretty quiet and reserved, but that was a public statement for a reason. So if there's something festering and this drama is going to continue, I mean, that's the players you start, you know, comparing yourself with or these diva queens that, you know, want this attention and all about me. So I don't know.
You know, he's got his rookie contract. They can franchise him again.
Mm-hmm.
They can give him little. I mean, his career is not promised to him. So be a good teammate and fight for your guys.
Yeah. So Robbie, I follow a website that does a lot of contract projections, and I don't know, for some reason it intrigues me. Kyler Murray played for a little over $11 million last year. They project his next contract that he'll sign in 2023 at 6 years, $258 million. You're 18 months at worst from a huge pay. Generational money. I don't know how the Murray family sits, but that's generational money. He's 18 months from.
Yeah, and so why are you rocking the boat? Look, Arizona's not putting a bad product on the field. Mm-hmm. They were in the playoffs, and he came up short.
Yep. Had to lead in the NFC West, and he performed terribly.
Well, and the NFC. And this is the thing we didn't touch on the NFC earlier. It's a quarterback carousel. Look, Rodgers is unhappy. Wilson's unhappy. Brady, who knows what he's doing? Murray's unhappy. Deshaun Watson's still the ultimate wild card. Where the heck is he going to end up? What's going on with him?
Why is it? Yeah, why is there silence? Why hasn't there been anything coming down from the NFL on restrictions or whatever? So it is a huge wild card, and somebody could end up getting, you know, if they take a chance on him, again, another top 5 quarterback in the NFL that could get for peanuts.
It's mind-blowing. The NFL has just been like, hey, we're just going to put this little problem in the corner and no one's going to bring it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody puts baby in the corner. All right, guys. Before we move on to the NFL, I want to talk about our next subject. And I heard a great quote on one of the ESPN shows. The NBA trade deadline is not about making your team better. It's about ridding your team of underperforming players, salary cap, and preparing your team so you can sign players in the offseason. there were a few good players to move, and we'll talk about that. I'm sure you guys will bring it up. But I offer up the New York Knicks and the Atlanta Hawks as the example of what an NBA trade is. A underperforming top 10 pick in Cam Reddish is sent to the Knicks for an underperforming top 10 pick in Kevin Knox. The Hawks throw in Solomon Hill, who's probably the best player in the whole deal. They get a first round pick back through Charlotte, and the Knicks get a second round pick through Brooklyn. Yeah, what did either team accomplish by this trade other than preparing themselves to cut ties with bad contracts? Is there anybody that improved themselves in the trade deadline, Brendan?
I'm pretty sure this is the dumbest topic we've ever talked about on this show.
Hey, screw you.
No, so I think the Hornets got a little better. Montrezl Harrell, I think that was a good trade for them.
CJ McCollum.
Yeah.
I did not foresee Brandon knowing any of this knowledge. I didn't know who these people are.
Yeah, so I do think an underrated trade was Torrey Craig back to the Suns. He was a big, 6th, 7th man off the bench in their run last year. They pretty much got him for peanuts. Back on the team, trying to make it run again. So he knows the system. I think that was a pretty good trade. And I'd like to talk about the non-trades that didn't happen, that should have happened. To your point, getting rid of bad players or juju on a team. What were the Lakers doing to just stay stagnant in this situation? They had an offer on the table from Houston, John Wall for Russell Westbrook, and a 2027 first-round pick. Now
I don't know how legit that was because Westbrook's contract is nearly untradeable.
I think there's a couple other players involved that are non-mentions, but that to me, it just seems like a no-brainer. I mean, Westbrook he's had a couple of great games this year, but overall his turnovers and just percentage shooting, he's not been part of a big three. I mean, this is an old team. They could use, not that John Wall's a young guy, but he's got a little more spunk in the tank than Westbrook at this point. If they're trying to make a run, I don't see why you wouldn't do something like this. So those are my big take. Obviously, you can talk about the Harden trade. Harden did everything he could in New York. With that situation, that he just got kind of a bum deal this year. And I'm not a huge Harden fan. I do love his style of play. I mean, he's a great basketball player offensively. But he was there every game. He was rarely hurt. He played every game. KD was always hurt. Kyrie couldn't play at home games. In the beginning of the year, he couldn't even play at away games. It was not playing at all until they started winning and saw potential that they could make it. And all of a sudden he can somehow play in away games, which makes no logical sense to me whatsoever. So that whole situation, then, they get Ben Simmons, who again is another kind of diva drama guy and, sitting out, pouting. You're a professional athlete. Like, I get you have conflict in your workspace, but, show up and do your job. It just baffles me. I think that's another bad situation for the Nets. Before the trade, I thought they could probably win the East, but I don't see it now. I just think there's more drama added with Simmons. So he can't shoot to save his life. Great defender, but don't count on him to shoot the ball. That's my take.
I was shocked, Rod, that your Lakers didn't make a move. They did make a move early by shipping Roger Ronda out of town, but I kind of expect them to maybe add a piece or something. I also was surprised by how many people kind of threw in on young talent You know, you're talking Reddish, Knox, Bowl got traded. A lot of 2-3-year-old players that just don't seem to fit anymore got gone. So, what was your take?
Yeah, a lot of those kids. I mean, Reddish had some PT, but the other guys, they really didn't get a lot of opportunity to show what they can do. As for the Lakers, in their defense, and I don't defend their management much anymore, Jeannie Buss and co. They didn't want to take on any more money, which sucks. This is a team who basically got rid of the best GM of all time and Jerry West, who did another amazing deal getting Norman Powell with the Clippers. He's just too intelligent. But they did believe that Kendrick Nunn was going to be back this week. That's a guy that has been he's on the team. He hasn't played yet. Averages 15, 16 a game in Miami, but, solid on-ball defender. They thought he was coming back. And with Russ's contract, I didn't think that trade, I didn't think there was much truth to that it was a firm offer. Houston already had Russ. He's a guy that unfortunately doesn't make those around him much better. His contract's ridiculous. You can't trade it. As for the Simmons deal, don't they already have a point guard? I guess, they wanted to get rid of Harden. I agree, but they did get Seth Curry out of that deal, which could be underrated. I suppose they could use Simmons at the one and move, Kyrie, who is a shoot. I wouldn't say shoot first, but obviously he likes to score over the two, or if they go small, they try to use Blake Griffin at the 3 or the 4. Ben Simmons can do that. So, and again, defensively, but we'll see. This is a team desperate for a win. The Celtics getting Derek White from the Spurs and getting rid of Josh Richardson in one deal and Dennis Schroeder, dudes that were not helping them. Celtics have won 9 in a row since that deal. Other big deals that I can think of. But back to the Lakers. I'm trying to think of other deals. Top of my head.
The Christian Porzingis deal to me was a notable deal.
Yeah, they got rid of him kind of like, I think McCollum's going to be a free agent, but people said, just like with Dallas, end of an era. What with Portland, an era of first round exits, Porzingis and Doncic, twin towers. Porzingis is never healthy, and I think Cuban was sick of it. He is trying to get paid, and Mark Cuban is obviously no dummy when it comes to business. So I think they were just, sick of him, and they weren't going to pay him what he's going to ask for. Somebody will. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That was a big deal, and I agree with Brandon. Torrey Craig is a glue guy. Another guy that I don't know why more teams don't sign. Oh, crap. I'm losing the guy was on the Heat. Jay Crowder. Another glue guy, just a guy that wins. Yeah, underrated deals. And I agree. Those are the underrated deals, the Derek White, the Torrey Craig, that's going to produce winners and, going to produce championships. I don't think it'll be as much the big name deals. But, yeah, in the end, it's mainly about money.
I think in the Porzingis deal, I think it was more of Doncic kind of diva-esque in that situation. I heard a lot of reports on some unhappiness in the locker room, and he just didn't play well with them, so he wanted him out of there. On top of the contract,
a nice guard in Dwiddley. I mean, he's a piece.
Yeah, he's a piece, but
he's a selfless dude that can, defend and pass the ball.
Which interesting that Schroeder. It's possible he could actually end up back on the Lakers, which is crazy because he was completely unhappy there. Didn't like the locker room vibe, didn't like anything there. But they offered him $74 million for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years or whatever, and turned it down because he didn't want to play there. But
and he got $5 million.
And if the bucket gets kicked down the road, what if he ends up back there for a steal with the Lakers? So I think he's a little underrated. I think he's a good player, but
I still think the best line was on NBA Tonight when they made the point that Doc Rivers has now traded his son Austin and his son-in-law and Seth Curry in the same lifetime. So, Robbie Davis, what was your ideal of NBA trade deadline?
Well, my takeaway from the trade deadline is that these guys know so much about the NBA trade deadline. I was just gonna keep it simple. I only know that the Nets and the Sixers did a deal. Yeah.
Hey,
so
Rob, what did you think about the Sabonis deal from Indiana to the Kings? The Kings sending another point guard, Tyrese Halliburton. Thoughts?
I read an article.
I'm amazed the Kings still have a team.
Hey,
yeah, no,
that's a great point. You should walk off on that one.
The Raptors get Thaddeus Young.
I was I don't know. I guess just if I'm the Nets, the big three played 16 games together and never got a chance to win one. Like, how can you not make that at least kind of work? I know Kyrie's weird, Durant, they're all weirdos, but they were all trying to be weird together and like just see if you can make a playoff run with them and just see what happens and then trade them next year. I'm interested to see Ben Simmons with them because, hey, Simmons, you don't have to shoot. You don't have to be in the floor at the end of the game with Kyrie and Durant. But ultimately, man, I mean, COVID protocols are going to – and everything's changing now. Like, who knows what – it's an election year, so everything's going to be up in the air. Kyrie may be able to play home games now coming up. Who knows? But – yeah, my takeaway were the Nets pulled the plug a little too early without seeing how they could play together. Other than that,
I think Dave agrees with you.
Trade. Memphis is still in good shape, and the other thing, LeBron's rational thoughts of being a GM may be coming to an end. He seems to be just wanting to be comfortable more so than picking the right pieces for his team, or he's lost control, one or the other.
Well, that was a great discussion in the NBA. Anybody got a final point? Brendan, you got something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you can put all these big egos on a team and try and create a big three and recruit and do all that. But, it comes down to chemistry and willing to give up the pass and not being or knowing your lane in that role. So I think the Nets realized that just wasn't happening. I know they only played 16 games together, but I mean, how much longer do you want to see them continue down this path where they're not all three on the same or in the same game because somebody's always hurt or somebody can't play. I mean, it's a means to an end. I think they've got to make a move. I think it might have been too early this year because they actually had a chance to make a run. Now, I don't think Ben Simmons is an upgrade from Harden by any means. I think it's definitely a downgrade. Getting Seth Curry or that could help out. That could come in shooting wise, but I think the Nets are out of it now. I think they traded themselves out of a chance.
Basketball is the one sport where you can say, we don't have to be hypothetical. Hey, here's a ball. You guys go play. Kevin Durant's better than you are. So he's getting the treatment. He's getting the preferential treatment. And then Harden, you and Kyrie go play. He's better than you are. And then if you're not.
Yeah, but that comes down to chemistry, though. You got to know, you got to be unselfish.
All right, guys, I hate to wrap up the NBA for a subject I know even less about, but Robbie Davis, your favorite sport and your favorite gambling sport starts this weekend in Daytona, Florida. I don't know, is Kel Yarborough still running? Is it Buddy Baker, Richard Petty? Besides Kyle Larson that I know you're going to pick, tell us what we need to know about the Daytona 500.
So this is what we need to know, and this is what every sport needs to be aware of. The NFL is taking over, and they are pushing things further and further back. So the Daytona should have been this weekend. It's pushed back. March Madness is coming up, so you're going to have a hype for Daytona. Then you're going to get to March Madness. It's going to fade. Then we'll see what baseball does. Then the combine. I'm worried that viewership is going further and further down. Attendance has been going down for NASCAR for years. I'm worried that viewership's going down. But on the bright side, but my point is, every sport needs to realize we've got to work around the NFL. That's just the nature of the beast. And I've been saying that for years. You've got to, because they will swallow you up. But for a preview of Daytona, so we've got new cars this year. They previewed them at the Coliseum, which I didn't personally like as a race fan, but the viewership was really, really good. And
Probably a lot of guys like me that just turned on to see the track inside of the Coliseum.
Yeah, so it was a gimmick, but it was cool to see, but I didn't really like it from a racing standpoint. Daytona should be fun. With any new car, I will pick the best team. The best team in the last decade has been Hendrick Motorsports. The best driver of that collection of drivers is Kyle Larson right now. The odds haven't been posted yet, so we will probably jump on. Well, I guess we're not going to jump on until it goes. So if I was betting, I'd pick Hendrick Motorsports, one of the drivers. If you want to take the favorite, always take the favorite. While Daytona used to wreck a lot more, they don't wreck as much this anytime. So the
you want to get on
bet.
Sunday morning prior to the race and do some picking, I'll be happy to get us a little.
Yeah.
So the lines aren't out a little bit. I'll give you a little update. Kyle Larson to win it. Let's see. Hold on. That's the NASCAR. Never mind. That's the NASCAR championship, not Daytona. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, I do think Chase Elliott has a good run at Daytona and is potential. My bet, top three, I think it's like plus 270 to make top three at Daytona. So he's not quite an underdog, but I like him. Kyle Larson, I think the sharps are fading him right now just because he is the favorite, and I don't know his previous records at Daytona, but Chase Elliott does run.
I don't think Larson's won Daytona.
Yeah, so I've been twice. Daytona's awesome. If you ever get a chance to go, it's super fun. I mean, obviously you're in Florida. It's a pretty good time of year to be there. 70, 75 degrees. Good time. Great race. Looking forward to it. I'm going to start getting back into NASCAR because of this podcast and talk a little bit more about it because I used to be somewhat of a fan.
I watch 2 races a year. For some reason, I watch the Memorial race because I'm a big Indy fan. I love the double. That Memorial Day holiday is about racing for me. And I watch Daytona, so I'll see this race.
Well, let me educate you on the 2
you
races
said
you should
NASCAR.
watch.
Isn't Daytona part of NASCAR?
It is. The
Okay.
2 races
I
you
got
should
confused.
watch if you only watch 2 races a year are Talladega and Bristol.
Yes, absolutely.
So-
You cannot miss Bristol. Bristol.
You
I've
cannot miss Bristol, and you
seen a
can't
piece
miss
of Bristol.
Talladega.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Those
Those are the meccas of the sport.
It doesn't hold my interest.
There's a lot more logic and science that goes into it than just turning left
Absolutely.
around the track. So
I'm sure.
it's actually intriguing when you get into it and you start thinking about logic.
I'll tell you what. I'm in a NASCAR, not necessarily a fantasy, but a pick'em league. I'll purchase all of y'all's entry fees. We'll do it's per quarter, and y'all fill them out, and we'll see if we can get you guys involved.
What about Alex Bowman? I think Alex Bowman has a nice chance.
I love Indy racing. I don't know why, other than I've been to several Indy 500s, and it really got me into Indy racing. And that Indy racing kind of stirred me away from NASCAR. Plus, I was a Richard Petty guy. Like, Richard Petty's 70,000 years old.
I have been to the Long Beach Grand Prix. That is the one race I've been to when I was younger. So I thought I'd never been to a race. My bad. Robbie's never been to a race.
I have not.
Robbie's the biggest fan that's never been to a race.
That's crazy.
Hey,
I've been to like
damn
six.
We don't
What?
all we don't all have unlimited funds where we can go to all these sporting events. I got to cut it off at some point.
Yeah.
You make your
How was
fair
the Vols
share.
game last night?
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
fantastic.
Exactly.
All right, guys. This is a
Spectacular.
great show. And
Spectacular.
I've made it through without saying anything other than reckless speculation. So I want to head towards the gates now. So we always start this segment with we usually put somebody on upset alert. We won't, but I do have a couple of announcements. River City Media is live on YouTube. Please like and follow us. Folks, we're trying to get our YouTube channel going. If you will help us get it started, there'll be a lot of contact coming to it. We're going to do some live stuff from sporting events. Please like and follow River City Media Sports on YouTube, still on Facebook, still on iTunes. Also, dates not figured out, but there will be a Selection Sunday show with all of us. We will do the same thing we did last year, which will be our 1-year anniversary of our first show. So look for that down the line. That is our announcements for the day. I have no best bets other than Arkansas beats Tennessee on the road. I just don't see Tennessee rebounding and winning the game. As much as it hurts, I think Arkansas beats us on the road. Robbie Davis.
Wow, that's a stupid prediction.
That's right.
Yeah,
Way to
no.
respect opinions.
Bet your nuts is tough this time of the year, not because we're not as confident as ever. It's just because the lines don't come out as they do during football season.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will try to get a Twitter feed or something and make bets for the weekend or something. But without knowing the line, I think Ken Palm has Tennessee winning by 2 at Arkansas. If they are laying 2 or less, then definitely take Tennessee. If it's 4 range, then go with Arkansas. People that don't gamble, I'm sure that was confusing, but Vols should win.
Rod Meta.
Obviously, I'm a Pac-12 guy. There's a couple games tomorrow that I think, I love USC hoops, and they tend to be over. They tend to be overinflated with their spreads. I mean, I've made a lot of people money. I don't like betting against my team. Tomorrow they're actually playing Washington is much better this year. They have a great scorer who's tops in the Pac-12, Terrell Brown
Randall's
Jr.
going 50 Cent on us.
And yeah, dude.
I'm in the club.
He is. Oh, geez. They're 10.5-point favorites, and Washington plays the Syracuse zone. So if I'd pick against my team, you should have done that during the NASCAR thing. If I pick against my team, if I could, I would. I'll go Washington State against UCLA tomorrow at UCLA. They're 9.5 right now. And real quick, right now on ESPN or ESPN2 is a great game in Texas Tech and Baylor. At Texas Tech, Patrick Mahomes is there. I don't remember the spread, but I would have gone Tech. But the game's already going. So turn to ESPN2 and, watch the Pac-12 tomorrow. I'll go Washington State.
I just saw on the tweet, same thing you did. Our friend Benny Deverouche is out of the fight this weekend, so that's a huge blow.
Yeah, man, it's terrible.
We'll have a follow-up on that next weekend.
Is it serious injury or?
I was wanting to go. No, I don't think so. I think it's his ankle, but he's been off for a long time. He had a baby, but to have it was light sparring, and he rarely gets hurt. So I know he's devastated. This was his first main bout ever. I was really wanting to go. I think the USC or Vegas, maybe they changed the policy, but they had a mask or basically they weren't allowing fans in attendance. I'm not sure if they are now. But no, it's not believed to be serious. And, I'm just crushed for the guy because he worked so hard.
This was probably a championship elimination battle.
Well,
if he wins the fight,
hopefully he recovers quickly.
I agree with both of you.
Brendan Chain.
I'm going back to NASCAR, like I said earlier. I'm going to roll with
Kyle
Chase.
Yarborough?
No, I'm going Chase Elliott to finish top 3 plus 270. I think that's good value there. I think he could win this race. Yeah, that's all I got.
Guys, final words is we didn't suck tonight. Robbie Davis?
Yeah, no, I don't think we sucked. I'm high off of a win last night at Thompson Bowling. I am now have some hope for the brackets and then coming out in the next month or so. Get ready for that. I'm excited about our Selection Sunday show. I'm excited about NASCAR starting. While this is a lot of people's downtime in sports, I'm looking forward to it. I wish baseball would get their bleep together and
no kidding.
Get those things together. What they're talking about for the minor league players is horrible. Maybe we'll get into that in the next week or so, but they're just it's just awful for the product that helps spread the game. So in MLB, get your stuff together, and can't wait for the race this weekend in Tennessee to Arkansas.
The second best looking man on the podcast, Raj Mehta. I don't know who the first one is, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks for putting me number 2.
Well, I'm number 1, obviously.
Well.
Just process of elimination. Where you
my
fit.
wife
Yeah.
probably,
we go 3, 2, 1. Don't you know how that rolls?
My wife would probably agree with you.
So let's just move on.
I'm just kidding. I'm starting to defat, so I'll be number 1 shortly again. My final words is Joe Burrow, not because he's the future of the NFL, but because he's a straight gangster. That dude looked like a guy that would paint my house, like at Ohio State. And when he goes to LSU, he starts getting mad moxie, and now he's wearing stuff that makes him look like Bobby Brown back in the 80s, like My Prerogative. That dude's got sweet glasses, chained, busted out a Santa hat and a Krusty the Clown shirt, I believe. Dude's awesome, man. I love the nuts on that guy. I just had bust your nuts, so I tied that around. So I don't think we suck, Randall. SpongeBob shoes. That guy's a gangster, dude. That's the kind of personality we need in the NFL. Not that the NFL's hurting, but I love the dude for off the field.
Joe Burrow has replaced Aaron Rodgers as my favorite non-Atlanta Falcons player. So.
Oh yeah, forget Aaron Rodgers. Yeah.
Up
Little
top,
man crush.
LA Rams head coach Sean McVay coming off the Super Bowl win. What's your final words?
It was a great win. Out-coached the other team. No, just playing. Final words. Ohio State beat the team up north on Saturday in basketball. We were 2.5-point dogs. It's always a good win when we can beat the team up north at home. Beat them by 11. 68-57. Big win for us. I think we're probably going to slide into that 6th seed somewhere in the selection show. So we'll be continued on that, but super proud of the boys. EJ Liddell is legit. He's the entire team around him. So I'm anxious to see. He's a baller, so I'm anxious to see them, progress in this big tournament. So, yeah.
CBS actually had them as my 5th seed, ironically, across from Tennessee, and USC as an 8th seed. So that was the last. That's where there.
We'll see.
They've been as high as a 4 seed earlier in the year. Doesn't matter for another month or 2 months.
Yeah, I think they'll be somewhere around the 6th, though. My opinion.
All right, guys.
We shall see.
Next week, we'll try not to stink again. And I'll try not to say ridiculous speculation the whole show. I said it intentionally, folks. That time I did. For Randall Cunningham, for Robbie Davis, the NASCAR expert, for Brandon Chain, who refuses to say Michigan, and for LA Cool, I Heart Lincoln Riley. This has been reckless speculation.
Oh,
Good
almost
night.
said it.
We need to get a money jar for every time you mess it up. You put $100